Guys, we're here to talk about the Oscars, primarily one of our favorite movies of the year that is also maybe not going to do very well at the Oscars. I'm talking, of course, about A Star is Born, which has 8 nominations, which is a lot, the second most of any film that is nominated here. But for some reason, it seems like A Star is Born is not the frontrunner, not even close to the frontrunner in this campaign. If we go back to October, there were very few films that were in the race. A Star is Born arrived, instantaneous hit, instant masterpiece, A+ cinema score from fans. And then what happened?
Do you want to share your own predictions from October about A Star is Born while we're doing it?
Sure. I am a fool. And
Fine.
I publicly stated that I felt like A Star is Born had a significant chance to go 5 for 5 in the Big 5 categories. Something that has happened only twice before and not since Silence of the Lambs. So 5 for 5, of course, is Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay.
And then Viggo Mortensen was like, hold my beer.
Truly. He came through along with Rami Malek and Bohemian Rhapsody, and Roma later premiered on Netflix. And we find ourselves in a place where it just seems like A Star is Born might not win anything. And we've been flabbergasted by this. Why did this happen?
There's an Oscars narrative way to do it where you're talking about the order in which things came out in and whether or not they captivated a certain awards narrative. But then there's just like, I do have like a question about A Star is Born that I had even when I saw it in October, which is this movie too depressing? And it's not like The Favorite fills me with the spirit of humanity and that like I just fully believe in our power to like overcome all obstacles after seeing that movie. But for a favorite like this, like Star is Born, I do wonder whether the ultimate feeling people leave that movie with is devastation. And that's not like Roma. Roma, you leave kind of feeling like we're all in this together despite whatever class differences there might be. And I know it's been criticized for that, but I've been trying to get at this for a while and I keep coming back to that.
I will say I was surprised by the number of people who were surprised by the ending of A Star is Born because it is the 4th version of this movie and, you know,
it's canon.
The narrative is the same. Like it was pretty obvious what was going to happen, like, without having seen the movie. And also, it's very obvious what's going to happen in the movie about an hour in. But so many people were surprised that, I agree with you, it seems like people weren't really prepared. They didn't know that this was coming and they were affected by it.
Yeah.
But this isn't the Hallmark Channel Awards. I mean, it's the Oscars. Like, tragedy is a part of major Best Picture winners all the time. You may recall, in fact, just last year, that fish alien was murdered at the end of The Shape of Water.
I literally didn't remember how it happened.
And, so it's not like it would be the most shocking thing to learn. And this is, of course, a spoiler. And if you do not want A Star is Born spoiled for you, I have no idea why you're watching this video. But Jackson Maine, of course, takes his own life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that's an interesting theory. And maybe in this moment, people want to feel good. That's certainly something we've heard about. Green Book and Bohemian Rhapsody, to some extent, rising this year. I don't know, Kate, what do you think it is? What do you think makes this not the front runner?
You know, I didn't know the ending going in. I'm a young person who hasn't seen the other versions.
Kate, welcome. You represent, the larger public.
Yeah, and I didn't walk out of the theater devastated. I was like, this movie was great. That first hour ripped. The songs were amazing, and I wanted to win everything. So, I mean, maybe other people had a different reaction, but I don't know. My theory, I guess, and I think this is just like the larger conversation, is that like, Bradley Cooper kind of bungled the campaign early on and now is trying to fix that. Too late.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Bradley Cooper, of course, when the movie came out, did the traditional round of press. Right. There were a couple of feature stories about him. He did some radio interviews, some podcast interviews, and he sort of trotted out the same 2 or 3 stories over and over again. And he kind of held the line at the way that he was going to talk about this movie. And he resisted journalist demand to kind of give all of himself.
Yes. What was it about this story and your life that drew, what was the attraction to it?
Yes.
Which, it's important to note, Bradley Cooper has a long history of doing exactly this. He has never been comfortable with the press and never been comfortable selling himself.
Like any true great Philadelphian.
He definitely, it felt as if he was protecting something. And there was, specifically a New York Times Magazine feature about him that sort of used his withholding nature as the point of the story, that identified that there was something about how Bradley Cooper hates this. And it's possible that that turned people off to this movie. I'm a little dubious of that. I think that there are some other factors in play, but I don't know, did that strike you as what was really going on here?
Yeah, I agree with Kate. And it took me a long time to get to this realization, I think, just because I've felt so personally attacked by the lack of success of A Star is Born. But something seems to have clicked with Bradley Cooper because in the last few weeks, after not winning anything at the Golden Globes, and right before nominations were announced, he showed up in Vegas with Lady Gaga to sing Shallow live.
Incredible.
And then after he was snubbed for Best Director, he went on Oprah and talked to Oprah about how sad he felt. And he was like, I felt like I didn't do my job. And so at some point it clicked for him, I think, that he needs to be doing the Oscar circuit. You know, it is a circuit. It is about campaigning and glad handing and kissing babies and voters and talking about how much it means to you. That's why Glenn Close is going to win this year, for example. And he refused to do that. And I do think it's affected it.
I think he also has a Duke problem. I think the fact that this was the number one seed so early made it the team to knock off. You know what I mean? And then going into this, even though obviously within our bubble, we have a ton of affection for this movie and probably a deeper kind of emotional attachment to it than maybe any of the other Best Picture nominees. I think that it was always there to lose for them rather than to win. So the first words you see in the trailer are filmed by Bradley Cooper. It's like they were presenting this as a masterwork by an auteur early on, like in September or July, whenever that trailer first came out. And I just wonder whether that's too long to defend your ground. Like you've got to kind of have a story where you're like, nobody saw Green Book coming, and here it is. Star is Born was like, we start on the top of the mountaintop, and all you can do is drag us down.
So, Amanda, you identified the course correction that Bradley Cooper is trying to orchestrate right now. We're only a few weeks away from the Oscars. The voting has just started. Is there any chance that February 24th comes and Bradley Cooper strides upon that stage, raises the Academy Award beside his friend Todd Phillips, who also produced this movie, and says, "We did it, Ma, top of the world," or no?
I don't think so.
I agree, and I don't want to. Part of it is not wanting to get my hopes up because they have been crushed for months now. We've been doing a whole podcast, and every week it's just like, no. The other thing.
This did happen once before, though, we should say.
Yeah.
Argo famously did not get the Best Director nomination and won some awards, but not every award, and was not necessarily the prohibitive favorite a few years ago. Ben Affleck, of course, did not get nominated for Best Director, nor did Bradley Cooper. And then Argo won. So it could happen.
It could. Here's the other source of concern for me. And I think one of the reasons we thought, in addition to it being a wonderful movie, but we thought it was going to be a favorite in part because there is this old saw about Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood. And this is technically about a musician, but it is about fame, and it is in like a long Hollywood tradition. And we thought, oh, sure, yeah, this, it's a shoo-in. And for a lot of different reasons, some of which are not my favorite, the argument about Hollywood this year has shifted away from like the content of the movie into how the movies are made and who is voting for them and what they're voting for. And I kind of think like the old traditional Hollywood voters have found themselves more in the Green Book camp and defending a traditional Oscar Hollywood movie by a Green Book than by A Star is Born. And so I just think that those votes will go somewhere else.
Chris, let me pitch a hypothetical to you.
Sure.
A Star is Born wins. How close are you to the reaction you had when the Eagles won the Super Bowl? Are you running around the room screaming, "Fuck Green Book," and pouring champagne down your throat?
I think that I would be satisfied. I think I would be satisfied with the Star is Born winning.
But that's the problem. That he's like, it would be fine. You wouldn't be pumped. No one who's voting is pumped. That's the problem, right?
You're part of the problem.
I am part of the problem.
Yeah.
I guess I am part of the problem. I don't have a vote, but I would just. Okay, so let me throw. I don't want to get too far off. I would be more happy, more emotional, more excited if Black Panther won. Now, not necessarily because I think Black Panther is a better movie than Star is Born. I think it's apples and oranges. I just think that, like, if you're talking about what it means, I would be more into that. I would be more emotional Super Bowl if Black Panther won.